According to the truck drivers, they carried 4,000 people and the convoy was around 7 kilometres long. Despite the agreement to only take personal weapons, there were 10 trucks loaded with arms and ammunition. Well, dozens of foreign fighters also reportedly managed to escape, with some of them making it out of Syria. And the drivers say they were shouted at and threatened along the entire route. The US-led coalition confirms the deal took place. However, it denies taking part in the negotiations. The coalition also says that only 4 foreign fighters were in the convoy and all 4 were later captured by the SDF. Well, let's discuss this issue now with Middle East expert Ali Rizk. Ali, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, listening to this story, quite a dramatic statement. I mean, do you think it was the right decision to allow Islamic State fighters to leave Raqqa?
Of course, it wasn't the correct decision or a right decision, but I think it might also have been a deliberate American-led decision. This isn't the first time we hear stories of such an essence. The head of the Joint Chief of Staff in the Russian military recently made statements in the same direction, saying that the Americans were actually training or assisting, providing forms of assistance to ISIS. And I think that you have to put this within the framework of the aftermath of ISIS. We all know that ISIS is losing ground. It's basically on the verge of defeat in Syria, already defeated in Iraq. So the fact that it's on the verge of defeat in Syria, I think that what the Trump administration might be doing is preparing for the post-ISIS phase. What I mean to say is putting together maybe a new group, not ISIS, but a new group which includes former ISIS fighters, to take on the Syrian army and its allies, first and foremost Iran, because the Trump administration and also Trump's close ally, Israeli Premier Benjamin Netanyahu, they have spoken of the necessity to counter Iranian presence inside Syria. So I think that this latest piece of news is very closely linked to that Trump strategy and to the Israeli strategy of escalating against Iran in Syria, also against Hezbollah and what they call the Shia axis in Syria.
But Ali, in allowing the ISIL to do that, do you not think, therefore, there is a risk that they could regroup as ISIL and retake parts of Syria?
Of course, but we've become accustomed to short-sighted American policies. We had the short-sighted American policy, for example, the biggest or the best example is Afghanistan. We all saw how the Americans during the Reagan administration provided all forms of assistance to what they called the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, and look what that led to. It led in the end to September 11. It even backfired against the Americans themselves. But I don't think that the Americans basically they ever learned the lesson, despite the fact that they themselves have fallen time and again to terrorist attacks. They continue with these short-sighted policies. So yes, you're right, it could lead to ISIS maybe regrouping. It could lead to all kinds of different havoc or chaos. But you know, that's basically the result of these US policies which we've gotten used to. And you know, I don't see that the Americans will learn their lesson anytime soon, despite the fact that, you know, these mistakes are accumulating.
And also, the US-led coalition said it took no part in this deal, in the talks, but a Western officer was present at the discussion. Based on what you've just said, does that then hold water? Did they not take part in the deal?
Exactly. I find that very hard to believe, that this is only something which the SDF carried out or something which only Syrians were involved in. It's very hard to believe that. No, I think this is part of a broader US strategy. Trump's strategy has become clearer. We all saw how he announced the national security strategy in that speech. And so, no, I think it's within a broader framework. America in my view, it's impossible for it not to have been involved. It had to have had a say. I think it actually was the leading, played the leading role in this whole process. And as I said, there is now, in the post-ISIS phase in Syria, I think we've entered into a new phase or a new stage whereby the US will focus its efforts on countering Iran, on countering the Syrian army, Hezbollah, possibly maybe countering by proxy the Russian military in Syria as well.
Indeed, it's going to be fascinating to see how this unfolds. Middle East expert Ali Rizk, thank you very much.